What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Life After Lockup Season 6, Episode 20, and the season finale, Vows and Vendetta. Let's get into Jaquan and Brooke, or as you know them, Jaquan and Brooke. I call them Jaquan and Brooke because they are so hood to me. And being hood is not a nationality, it's not an ethnicity, it's not a race, it's not a geographical location. You can live in the suburbs, you can live in a trailer park, you can live in the inner city and still be hood. Okay, it is not specific to any one particular racial group, but Jaquan and Brukisha to me are so hood. Let's get into it. So the last time that we saw them, they were at, remember, Brooke had shown up at JK's mother's house because she wanted to confront JK because he had been ignoring her all day. She's been blowing his phone up, texting him. He wasn't responding because he was busy with his ex-girlfriend, Alex. And the reason why he was at Alex's house was because his dad told him that Alex was pregnant and he wanted to know if the baby was his. So he was at Alex's house while Brooke was blowing up his phone. Because he wasn't answering, she got in her car, drove. Someone told me that they live about an hour away from each other, drove about an hour to JK's mother's house to confront him. She shows up at the house, acting a damn fool, banging on the door, disturbing their peace. The stepfather answers the door. She barges in. Okay, she barges into the house, goes to the room or bathroom that JK was in. She starts banging on that door, yelling and screaming and hollering, acting a fool. JK's mom was like, "You need to get out of my house with all that noise because I live in a nice, peaceful neighborhood, and they don't put up with all this over here." So JK takes her outside. They're outside talking, and she wants to know why wasn't he answering her calls, and that's where we're at now. So he tells her that right before he told her where he was and who he was with, the cops showed up because somebody had called the cops making a noise complaint, and I think it was Jake. And it couldn't have been JK's mom because I don't think she would have called the cops on her son with him being on parole and all of that. So I guess it was somebody in the neighborhood that had called the police. The police showed up. Nothing happened. They were just like, "Hey, we got a noise complaint. Keep it down." And then they left. So JK and Brooke resume their arguing. And JK finally tells Brooke that he was at Alex's house because supposedly Alex is pregnant. Not supposedly, she is pregnant. So Brooke was like, "Well, what does her being pregnant have to do with you?" Well, it's got everything to do with him because he's one of the two guys that could have possibly fathered her child. And so then she's like, "Okay, so you've been cheating on me with Alex." And she wanted to know for how long. And he says, "Ever since I came out of jail and you've been on that BS, I've been sleeping with Alex." And so she talks about all the promises that he broke. Like he had promised to have a family with her, have a kid with her. He promised to take care of her boys and be the father figure in her boys' lives. And he had promised that he was going to be with Brooke and have this future with her. So he says that he cannot be with her when she's acting so psycho. And Brooke tells him, "Well, you're the reason why I'm acting psycho. You don't answer your phone and you're cheating on me with your ex." And JK says, "Well, you're the reason why I'm sleeping with my ex. And I've been sleeping with her this whole time." Okay. So when he says that, when he tells her, "You're the reason why I'm sleeping with Alex," she slaps him across the face. It was a hard slap because whatever was in his mouth flew out. I don't know if it was a tooth. I don't know if it was saliva, but something white flew out of his mouth when she slapped him. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a tooth, but he didn't bleed or anything. So maybe it was just saliva. I don't know what it was, but something flew the hell out of his mouth when she slapped him. So they go on to cussing each other out, and Brooke says that she's ending the relationship. So she gets in her car and she takes off, and he goes back inside his house and he tells his mom that he was arguing with Brooke and saying to his mom and his stepdad that Brooke slapped the crap out of him. And his mom said, "That girl's gonna put you back in prison. So you need to leave her alone. You need to leave Alex alone. You need to leave all these girls alone and just concentrate on yourself, JK, and make yourself better." The next time that we see Brooke, she's out with her two boys and she's taking them out for ice cream and she sits them down. Okay, like this is a serious family moment. She sits them down and tells them that her and JK broke up. And I really expected her boys to have been like, okay, so, and we don't really know that, ma'am. Because we didn't see a lot of interaction between JK and her boys. Because every time that she went chasing JK, she was alone. She wasn't with her kids. I know that he had gone over to her house like one time when her boys were home. We did see that interaction. And yes, JK did promise the boys that he was going to take them fishing, he was going to do all this stuff with them. And they seemed to really like him. But that was the only time that we saw him directly interact with the boys. I think another time may have been him talking on the phone with them. Like I said, whenever she would go to JK's house, she went there alone. She never brought her boys with her, but it was always because it was a tumultuous time, when she was going to his house. It wasn't like she was going there for tea and crumpets. She was going there to confront him about something. So I can understand why she wouldn't bring her boys into that type of situation. But the bottom line is we did not see a lot of interaction between JK and Brooke's children. So for her to have this very serious moment when she's breaking it to them that her and their you know, never have been stepdad had broken up, I was just kind of like, girl, you're doing the most. Why don't you just tell them while they're playing video games or something? Hey, by the way, boys, me and JK broke up, and they would have gone right back to playing their games. So the boys say that they first the youngest acted shocked. He like turned his head to his mom and he was like, "What?" I'm not sure why he was shocked. Like I said, it didn't seem like JK was a big part of their lives. And the boys said that Brooke was too good for JK. They called him a drug addict. Her children called him a drug addict. And they said that she could do a whole lot better than JK, that he really didn't value her. And, he just really didn't appreciate their mom. So Brooke says that she's surprised that her sons were saying all these things about JK and calling him a drug addict because she swears up and down that she never, ever, ever talked about JK's drug issues to her children, which I do not do not believe. I don't believe that at all. Maybe she never sat down with them and had like a face to face, one on one. Hey, JK has a problem. He's a drug addict. Maybe she never did that. But I know when she was yelling at her phone whenever he wouldn't answer, and if she was around her boys and she was, cussing out her phone and maybe talking to her mom about JK, I know that she brought up the fact that he was using drugs and that he was probably back to using drugs. And that's why I know she brought this up in front of her children multiple times because how else would they know? She wanted to make it seem like her kids were so astute that they were able to, like analyze JK's behavior and put it all together that he was back on drugs. No, you've mentioned in front of your children, Brooke, that JK was a drug addict. So the kids say that they didn't like him anyway, and that he was a liar, and that he didn't do anything for them. Once again, these are Brooke's words coming out of these children's mouths. These kids are too busy, number one, wondering why their mom isn't home most of the time. Number two, probably, just worried about their regular kid life. Schoolwork, friends, games, snacks. They ain't thinking about JK. So for them to like give this analysis that he was a liar and didn't do anything for them, like this is Brooke telling her children this. So they were let down. In my opinion, they were let down. Her boys were if they were let down at all, if they gave a damn at all about their mom and JK, it was because Brooke was the one that built up this illusion that there was going to be this wonderful life once her and JK got married and once JK moved in or they moved in with JK. I think Brooke was painting this picture for her boys. JK is going to be the best dad and he's going to take y'all fishing and y'all going to be playing sports together and he's going to be buying you all these things. We're going to have this wonderful life for JK. And I think that's what the kids were harping on. It wasn't anything that JK did or didn't do to them directly because this man was just a little tiny blip in their lives, if that. Okay. So I think they were let down because Brooke had made them promises of what life would be like with her and JK being together. So she didn't deliver on what she had promised her boys. JK says that we see him fishing and he's by himself. And he says that he is going to miss the boys and that he would still want to hang out with them. Okay, it'll be a cold chance in hell before Brooke lets you anywhere near her children, especially when you had, when she has told them all these horrible things about you. It's going to be a cold day in hell, JK, before you see those boys again. JK says that how can anyone expect him to go from real prison into this constricting relationship with Brooke, which is like a whole nother prison? And I'm like, who are you talking to, JK? You're preaching to the choir. We've been telling all of these inmates on this show, don't leave prison and jump into a relationship. And then again, if they listened to good, sage advice, we wouldn't have a show. So, of course, they have to jump from prison into these, crazy, toxic, psychotic relationships for us to have something to talk about here. So he says that, how can anybody expect them to be monogamous and to be faithful after coming out of prison? And he says that he's not even messing with Alex because Alex has too much baggage. She's pregnant with a child that may or may not be his. She's got other children. And so he's like, yeah, she's got too much going on for me. So the next time that we see Brooke, she's in her car with her two boys, okay? And she's driving to, I guess she's driving to Galveston because we find out later on that she ends up moving to Galveston. So she's driving in the car with her two boys, and she's talking about how she's moved on. She's telling us she's moved on from JK. She ain't worried about JK no more. And while she's in the car with her boys, her phone rings through her Bluetooth. And so she answers, and you hear that robotic voice that says, this is a call from blah, blah, blah jail. This is a collect call from blah, blah, blah jail or whatever. So I was like, oh my God, JK's back in jail. But no, it wasn't JK. Y'all, it's a whole nother inmate that she done hooked up with. So this person talks through the Bluetooth for her boys to hear, says, I can't wait to come home. I can't wait to be kissing on you. I can't wait to kiss you. And he's saying this in front of her boys. She's listening to this conversation in front of her boys. And so she's just giggling because she done found herself a whole nother inmate. Now, at the end, they give you all the updates of what happened after filming. And when they were done filming, we find out that Alex had a baby girl and they're still waiting for the DNA results. And I'm pretty sure by now, the results are out. So if anybody happens to know whether or not the baby is JK's, please let me know. And also, it says here that Brooke is, I think it said that, yeah, it says here that she moved to Galveston and that she is talking to multiple inmates. This woman, who is a mother of minor children, is still out there looking for inmates to bring into her children's lives. Or maybe not, because we know that when she gets a boyfriend, she's never home. So maybe they'll never see these inmates and they'll have nothing to do with them, hopefully, because she'll be, driving from Galveston to wherever the hell she needs to go to be all up, in these men's faces instead of being home taking care of her boys. And she moves to Galveston. She's talking to multiple inmates. And in her confessional, she was actually on the phone, I guess, with an inmate. And she was just smiling and cheesing and showing off her pearly whites. And this was like the only time that we really saw Brooke happy and smiling was when she is, hooking up with other inmates, when she knows that she's got other prison relationships going on. So I'm pretty sure we might be seeing her again on some type of franchise of Love After Lockup, Love During Lockup, Life After Lockup, or some variation of the above. And JK is still out there hoeing because they said he is talking to multiple women, which is good for him, which is what he needs to do. Don't get too wrapped up in these women, JK, now, because I know you got needs and you need companionship and all that, but don't get too wrapped up in these women. Concentrate on yourself. Now, I also caught a live that Brooke did on TikTok. And she couldn't talk about the show. People kept on asking her question after question after question about the damn show, and she couldn't talk about it. But someone in the comments of the live that I caught said, JK is trying to talk to one of my homegirls, or JK is in my homegirl's DMs. And Brooke says, that's fine. She can have them. So according to Brooke, she really is done with JK. And another thing that I want to say, side note, when it comes to these lives that these reality TV people do when the show is still on, and they can't really talk too much about it. And then people are asking them questions about the show, and then they get upset. Like, I can't talk about the show. Why can't you understand? I can't talk about the show. First of all, why are you doing a live? The only reason why anybody's in your live is because they want to ask you questions about the show. Okay, damn an NDA. They want to ask you questions about the show because we don't know you from anything other than the show that you were on. Like, why else? What else would we be asking you? Like, what else is there to talk about? We don't know anything else about you. All we know is what went down on this damn show. So if you're gonna get upset that people are asking you about the show, maybe you shouldn't be doing lives. Maybe, or you should wait until your NDA is over, then do a live so you can answer all the questions. We're not interested in anything else that you got going on other than the show. Okay, we don't know you from a hill of beans if it wasn't for Love After Lockup. Moving on to the sister wives of Life After Lockup, Demadra, Kiana, and Juella. So when we see them, remember, Juella told the private investigator that she wanted to set up a meeting because the private investigator that Kiana and Demadrick hired wanted to do their investigation. I don't know, investigating what. Basically, they were trying, the investigator was supposed to not threaten, but pressure her or intimidate Juella into dropping the charges, you know? And so the private investigator showed up at her house, last week or the week before, and he brought a form for an affidavit for her to sign, promising that she's gonna drop the charges. And so he was trying to like basically low key intimidate her into dropping the charges. Okay, fine. So she was like, I'll consider it, but this is what I'm requesting. I want her to pay for my makeup equipment that got ruined because she's like a makeup artist or she's in cosmetology school. And she claimed that, that was also vandalized. And she was also requesting to have a sit down one on one conversation with Kiana. So Kiana and Demadrick are on their way to meet up with Juella for this one on one. But okay, I say one on one, but Demadrick was with her. And Juella made it clear that she only wanted to talk to Kiana. I have no idea, unless Demadrick was just going to drop her off or he was just going to wait in the parking lot while Kiana and Juella had their conversation. So Juella is already at the restaurant. She's waiting for them, and they're supposedly on their way. Kiana tells Demadrick in the car that she thinks that this might be a setup, that Juella probably has police officers waiting to arrest her because there's that warrant is still out there and it's still active for the vandalism. And so she's like, this is probably a setup, whatever it is, whatever Juella's got going on, whatever her reason is to talk to Kiana doesn't trust it. She thinks that something is going on, and that Juella has got something up her sleeve and it's not going to be good for Kiana. So while filming, okay, so they end up not going. She changes her mind. She tells Demartric, I don't want to go. I don't want to meet with her. I don't know what she's got planned for me. I don't feel right about this. And so he does a he does a U-turn, and they go back home. And they never meet up with Juella, and Juella ends up leaving the restaurant. And she says that she is done with Demadrick and Kiana. She says that she wants everybody to go their separate ways. She's going to leave them alone. She wants them to leave her alone. She don't want nothing to do with them. Point blank, period. So after that, we see Kiana. She's in her confessional. And while she's talking to the producers and answering their questions, the doorbell rings. I guess they're doing the confessional at her house. And so the producers are like, oh, who's that? Okay. And so she gets up, she answers the door, and it is Juella. And at this point, when she walks onto her porch, she shuts the door on the cameras. So the cameras don't follow her onto her porch. So we don't see the interaction between Kiana and Juella. We just hear it because their mics are still on, or her mic is still on. I don't know if Juella's mic'd. So all you hear is Kiana telling, first, Juella says, I just want to talk to you. And Kiana's like, I don't want to talk to you. Get out of here. Go away. Leave me alone. Move. That's all you hear. You hear Kiana trying to get her to get off her property. Like, get the hell away from me. Get out of here. And Joella ends up leaving. Okay. She ends up driving away. So they ask Kiana, like, what is your future? Are you into Demadrick? And she's like, she sees a great, happy, bright, successful future with her and Demadrick. Demadrick says that whatever is going on between Kiana and Juella has got nothing to do with him. He said that. He formed his lips to say those words. That whatever's going on between these two women's got nothing to do with me. He says it may have started with me, okay, because they were, fighting over me or whatever. But at some point, it was beyond me. It was bigger than me. And I was no longer a part of the equation. So their beef, their argument is just between them two, and it's got nothing to do with me. That's what he said. So Juella, in her confessional, she says that after everything was said and done, she said that DeModric is still reaching out to her. And she even showed her phone. She put her phone up to the camera and she was like, he's still texting me right now. And they show the text messages and he's like, hey, what you doing? And she tries to blow him off and tries to tell him, hey, leave me alone. You said you wanted to be with that girl. You're in a happy relationship with her. Why are you contacting me? And then he responds with, I can't check on you. I can't see if you all right. And so she's like, no, you can't. And he's like, oh, so it's like that? Knowing damn well what kind of time DeMarcus on. We know what kind of time he's on. He's on the time of I'm trying to keep both of these women in my lives, trying to keep both of these women in my bed. That's what's going on with DeMarcus. He is not going to let Juella go. Okay. And the fact that Kiana is so blindly, or she appears to be, because I don't know what's really going on behind the scenes, she appears to be blindly in love with DeMarcus. She's not going to let him go because she wants to prove that she was the better choice. She wants to prove that he's going to choose her above all else. And he's not going to let Juella go because I think he feels some type of ownership or possessiveness over Juella because number one, Juella allows it. She likes to be controlled by DeModric. She likes to, play that game of, no, leave me alone. You got a girl. Why are you bothering me? And then eventually she gives in because she knows what's waiting for her at the end of the rainbow because she talks about how they've got this great chemistry. And he loves this. He's in the middle and he's got two women. He's got blind Kiana and he's got willing Juella. Like, what man would give that up? And they're not going to let him go. And if they're not going to let him go, he ain't letting him go. Okay, so fine. We see the text messages, and then I think maybe also the reason why Juella wanted to meet up with Kiana one on one was I think she wanted to show him evidence and receipts that this man is still bothering her, that he is reaching out to her, that they still got something going on. I think that's the reason why she wanted to meet with Kiana, and maybe Kiana knew, and she doesn't want to know the truth. She don't want to know. Out of sight, out of mind. If I don't see the receipts, I'm cool. I can believe that my man is faithful, that I'm in a monogamous relationship. But when I look at DeMardrick, in my personal opinion, in my untrained eye, I see a player. I feel like he's playing both women. He's dealing with both. He knows that, excuse me, y'all, he knows that Juella is weak for him. Weak for him. And he knows that Kiana is trying to prove a point to Juella and to anybody else who's interested that she was the better choice and that he's going to end up with her. After they were done filming, this is what we find out. We find out that Kiana and DeMondrick are living together. We see that all over social media. They are very much living together. Juella dropped the charges against Kiana and the case was dismissed. And they say that they say that DeMondrick and Juella only communicate to co-parent. That's the only reason why they communicate. And I'm like, BS. Y'all didn't get those updates from Juella. Y'all only talked to Kiana and DeMondrick because probably after filming, I think maybe Juella was done with it all. She didn't want to talk to them no more. But when they were trying to get the updates to figure out what was going on, they only talked to Kiana and DeMondrick because I still don't believe that DeMondrick is only communicating with Juella about the kids. I don't believe that. Not for a minute. Let's move on to Letitia and Keith. So when we see Letitia and Keith, they are still arguing about the vow renewals and exactly how did Keith propose to Letitia, because remember she got mad when he really wasn't feeling the vow renewal thing because he's like, why are we doing a vow renewal? We're already married. What's the point? And she was like, and I didn't like how you proposed to me because you were just like, hey, do you want to effing get married? And he denied that he said that. And so they got into this argument. A stupid, argument. You just found out that you don't have to do jail time and you want to argue. I wouldn't want to argue about a damn thing once I found out that I escaped going to jail. I'd be so damn happy. Anywho, so while they're arguing, Keith's aunt calls him. And I guess you're supposed to meet up with them, maybe to celebrate the fact that Letitia didn't have to go to jail. And so Keith tells his aunt, yeah, come get me, because this woman's wilding out. She's crazy. Please come get me. And Letitia's telling both of them, because he's got the aunt on speakerphone. She's telling both of them, you ain't going nowhere. You ain't going with her. The only place you're going is with me because I'm your wife. She loves to throw that out there. I'm your wife. I'm your wife. You going home with me. You ain't going home with nobody else but me. So the aunt shows up. He gets in the car. Zoom. He's out of there. And Letitia is left on the side of the road looking dazed and confused. Like, what the hell just happened? She still tried to talk big and bad, but I was like, girl, your man left you. Your husband left you. Like, what are you talking about? So okay, the aunt shows up, they're gone, blah, blah, blah. She thought that Keith would be on board with the whole vow renewal because when he was in prison, he was so romantic. You know, he was sending her flowers and he was sending her stuffed animals and he was drawing her pictures and sending her these cards with all these beautiful love notes written in them and these long 10-page letters, you know, of how much he loved her. So she was like, he was so romantic when he was in prison, but after he's been released, it's different. Hell yeah, it's different because now it's real. Okay, now it's real. In prison, it was play. It was make believe. Okay, he had all the time in the world to do all that stuff because he had nothing else to do. And he was all in his feelings and feeling romantical. But now that he's out in the real world and he has access to so many things, he ain't got time for that mess. But the aunt tells him, as she's taking him home, the aunt tells him, look, you know, you need to reconsider the vow renewal. Happy wife, happy life. If this is what she wants, just go ahead and do it. And the aunt tries to tell him that it's not going to be anything big and grand because I think he was worried about the cost and the preparation because their anniversary was coming up and they were supposed to get this done by their anniversary. And so he was probably thinking about it's going to be this grand, big thing costing all this money and all these people are going to show up. And so when the aunt talked him off the ledge and said, no, Keith, it's not like that. It's just going to be a quick little 1-2, you know, say a little, exchange a couple of words with each other and you'll be done. Okay. And so he was like, okay, cool. So when he gets home, she's in the bed, she's upset, but he's able to, you know, calm her down and, you know, kissing on her, loving on her, and telling her that, yeah, he's done with the vow renewal. He even gets down on one knee, or was it two? And he proposes to her again and gives her the kind of proposal that she would have wanted. And so we see them at the vow renewal, that their families are there, the kids are there, and whatever. It was sweet. I thought that this was the couple on this season that would have their happy ending, right? She's escaping jail time. He's doing good. They're back on track with their relationship, you know. So I'm thinking, okay, they're the happy ending that we would like to see. But no, we find out in the update that Letitia was arrested for forgery and identity theft after filming ended, and her case is still ongoing. She's a career criminal. This woman who walks around in these, you know, like when she was working in her office, when she had an office and she had a staff, you know, she was walking around in these suits and of course, you know, they're a little bit on the, you know, revealing side, but still, she was trying to present herself as being super professional and she's a business owner, entrepreneur. She's nothing but a common thief. She's nothing but a common thief, career criminal. Moving on to Justine and Michael. So they're still in New York, and what just happened? They're still in New York. They're walking around in New York, and he's trying to figure out. Oh, his mom just his mom just sent him $1,000. And she sent him the money. He asked for the money because he said he's broke. He can't even pay for the New York trip. Okay, so that's why the mom sent him the money because he's broke as hell. And so he has to confess to Justine what's really going on with their finances. So they walk into a store to buy souvenirs for their kids, and he finally confesses to her and tells her that he's like, Justine, we can't do this wedding. Okay, we can't do this wedding with this budget. And she's like, "Oh, I understand, whatever, 60,000 is a lot, but we can work around it. We can, do." So she's thinking that all we got to do is maybe do a little snip here, a little snip there, and maybe I still get this beautiful wedding at a lesser cost. And he's like, "No, no, I don't got it. I don't got the money. I don't got 60K. I don't got 40K. I don't got 30K. I barely got 15K." And that 15K is being drained by whatever business they got going on, because they have multiple businesses, multiple streams of income. And they have this one, I think it's the car business where they rent out these exotic cars in Las Vegas. I think one of them, he said that, I think that's what I'm thinking. He named some type of um vehicle, which I'm thinking was a car. I don't know what it was. He named something, and whatever this thing is, it needs a $31,000 part. It's gonna cost, or it's gonna cost 31,000 to fix it. This whatever this is, and so that's draining them. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't got it." And so she was upset with. Well, I use the term upset very loosely because to me, the way that I know Justine, if this really was news to her, she would have blown up. And she didn't blow up. She was just like, "Well, Mike, I just don't understand why you don't tell me what's going on. Like, why would you hide this from me? You're doing all this stuff with our money behind my back, and I don't know why you don't trust." She was so calm and low key about it. I was like, "This is a fake scene. This is a fake scene. This is a fake storyline. Justine and Michael are just fine. They have no issues. They're fine. Okay, they're not destitute. The $60,000 wedding thing was something that the show made up. They just pulled some numbers out the air. Hey, let's say that y'all want the $60,000 wedding, and it's gonna come in between y'all's relationship. It was all fake. There was no $60,000 wedding. There was no $40,000 venue. They filmed. They went to go film in New York because nothing else was going on in Las Vegas. Justine and Michael had no storyline, but for whatever reason, Life After Lockup, Love After Lockup, whatever you want to call it, they love shoving Justine and Michael down our throats. And we're just not, I'm not that interested. Okay, I'm not that interested. I can't even make fun of them anymore because, I used to make fun of them because they used to dress alike. They don't even do that anymore. Okay, they can't even give us that for comic relief. I don't understand why they're still here. They're fine. Them and their busload of children are doing just fine. Just like when they had that scene with Justine and her mom. Come on now. Justine and her mom, they've been down this road 1,000 times. Why are we watching Justine and her mom again talking about her damn childhood? They're fine. There's nothing going on with them. It was a fake scene, it was a fake storyline. But they've postponed their wedding to 2026. Good for them. And please, WeTV, we don't want to see it. Okay, if anybody's interested in Justine and Michael's 2026 wedding, they know where to find them. They're on social media. I don't need an hour and a half of Justine and Michael and their damn wedding. I don't need it. I don't want it. Let this be the last time that Justine and Michael graced our TVs with their presence, because I'm really not interested. Let's go on and talk about. We got to talk about Zaria and Troy. As much as I don't want to, we have to talk about Zaria and Troy. Their storyline was weaker than Justine and Michael. Justine and Michael had a weak storyline. Zaria and Troy, their storyline was even. There was nothing. They gave nothing. Nothing. So remember last week, Troy goes to the bus station, I think, to go pick up his mom and bring her over to their house because for whatever reason, they couldn't tell her during FaceTime or a phone call or a text that Zaria's pregnant. They got to go pick her up. She's got to go all the way from Rochester to Buffalo for them to tell her face to face. Okay. So they bring her to the house, and as soon as she walks in, she sees Zaria, she sees her belly, and I don't even, to me, she didn't act surprised. She wasn't like, "Oh my God, you're pregnant." All she said was, "Look how big that belly is." Like she knew she was pregnant and was just surprised at how much she's grown, how much her belly has grown. So I felt like the mom knew. The mom had already known that she was pregnant. This is just a fake scene. Troy says that he's excited, and so him and his mom, they go talk outside on the patio, and he's telling his mom that he's excited about having a baby, but he's also sad because his dad isn't there. Karen says that she tells her son, I want you to stop going around telling people that I didn't take care of you and that I don't love you. And because that's not true. And then he brings up, or they bring up, how she never came to see him in prison, because they show us a flashback of the scene where he confronts his mom after he came out of prison. He was like, how come you never came to visit me in prison? And she said she's like, I think she said something like, I'm not about to go chase no grown man. Whatever she said. So Karen says that, okay, but you forget about all that I have done for you. She says, when you were in prison, I was taking care of your daughter. I was helping raise your daughter. And then Troy says, as you should. You don't get no brownie points for that. You're supposed to take care of your granddaughter. I was like, excuse me? No, no, sir. Troy, no, no, let's cut that right now. It is not your mother's responsibility to raise your child or to take care of your child while you're locked up. It is you and Yanni's responsibility to do that. And okay, I get if grandma, wants to babysit while Yanni goes to work, because Yanni's a single mom, you're in prison, you're locked up, and grandma wants to help out with babysitting. I get that, but she does not have to raise your child. She doesn't even have to babysit, to be completely honest with you. She doesn't have to do anything when it comes to your child. Now, if you and Yanni are both 6 feet under, I can see her trying to step up and raise her granddaughter. But y'all are alive and well and healthy. One of y'all keeps making dumb decisions that keeps landing you in jail. You ain't got nobody to blame but yourself. You need to be making the right decisions to be out here raising your daughter, Troy. So if you can't take the responsibility of raising the child that you created, why are you putting it on your mom to do that? And she had nothing to do with this child coming into the world. So this is the first time ever, I think, that I've ever agreed with Karen. Okay, fine. So Karen says she didn't have to do a damn thing. True. Troy blames her for a lot of things. I don't know what they were arguing about. Okay, they were arguing about a whole bunch of stuff, about stuff that happened years ago. Her not being there for him, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I don't really care. Then they go back inside, and the argument continues with Zaria. So what's her name? Karen, she sits down and she starts arguing with Zaria, telling Zaria, hey, I didn't want you in my business with my son. You kept on putting your nose where it didn't belong. And then Zaria was like, yeah, but you would ask me to tell Troy certain things. You wanted me to tell Troy to be, kinder to you, or to tell you. They go back and forth on that. Did she want Zaria in her business with Troy, or did she not want Zaria in her business with Troy? Because it seems like at some points she'll pull Zaria in so that she can get at Troy, and then at other points she don't want Zaria involved at all. I don't know. Don't really care. So then they go back and forth, but eventually they come to some type of resolution. I don't know how they got there, but they got there. They're hugging on each other now. Zaria pulls out the ultrasound pictures of the baby. Karen is looking at them, and then Karen made some very inappropriate remarks about the baby's anatomy. Use your imagination. It was extremely inappropriate. I'm not going to repeat it. I'm not going to hint at it at all. But I thought it was extremely inappropriate, the things that she said about the baby and the baby's anatomy. And even Zaria and Troy were like, what the hell? And Zaria was like, how can you say that about a baby? That woman is thrown off. Completely thrown off. My God, if I was carrying a point and my mom said something like that, it'd be over. I'd be looking at my mom real crazy. I'd be like, I don't know what you got going on, but she ain't gonna be nowhere near my child. Because what she said was really inappropriate. So they look at the sonogram pictures. Okay, fine. And then in the confessional, Troy gives both of them, because they're all three doing a confessional together. And Troy gives both of them bouquets of flowers, because evidently at the time that they were doing the confessional, it was Mother's Day. The update on them is that they are mending their relationship with Karen. Baby Troy was able to come stay with Troy and Zaria for the summer. And remember, Yanni said that she didn't want her child anywhere near Zaria, but the baby came over and stayed with them for the summer. So he had his daughter with him for the summer. And they're waiting for the birth of their son. Now, I didn't catch it live, but there was a video on TikTok where someone had screenshot the live, and the internet sleuths or the TikTok sleuths were trying to figure out if Zaria had her baby by what was going on in the background. Like they said that they saw a car seat or something or some type of baby items in the background. So the assumption was that she already had the baby, but she probably did because they filmed these quite a long time ago. So I'm pretty sure the baby's probably almost a year old by now. Okay, moving on from there, I think we're finally at the very end where we're going to talk about, no, Will and Courtney. Child, I can't. Nothing happened with Will and Courtney, y'all. They're in their confessional together and they're just arguing. They're going back and forth, talking about nonsense, who did what to who was the cause of the breakup. Basically, the bottom line is Will felt like Courtney didn't do enough. After they got married, he wanted more of her time. Like he would call her, he would text her, she would never respond. Of course, he found out that she was still dealing with some sugar daddies. He asked her point blank period, did you ever cheat on me while we were married? She said no, she didn't. Not even with that weird, creepy guy, Mark. She said nothing. And I believe that. I believe that she didn't touch Mark. I believe that. If I said something differently before, I don't know what I said about them before, but now I don't think she did. So she said that she did not cheat on him, but after they broke up, which, like, what do you mean after you broke up? Were y'all still legally married or what? But she says after we broke up, she did sleep with somebody else. And he wanted to know who. She wouldn't tell him. He wanted to know how many other people. She wouldn't tell him. She said it was none of his business. And then he was like, well, I need to know because the day that he showed up at her residence when he came into Seattle and he wanted her to sign the divorce papers and they were outside in the rain in front of her house and she tore up the divorce papers, that same day they slept together. Okay, that same day they slept together. And that just shows how toxic these people are. And after a big old argument, cussing each other out, her tearing up paperwork, they still slept together later on that night. And she said, well, yeah, and you ended up getting thrown out of my house because evidently Will got into an argument with one of her roommates after after everything was said and done. He got into an argument. They ended up throwing him out. Okay, fine, whatever. Not sure what the point of all of that was. All we need to know is that y'all are toxic as hell for each other and y'all don't need to be together. She was like, basically she couldn't be with him because he didn't want to spend money on her. I don't know if Will is broke or not. When I said he was broke, somebody in my comments were like, no, he's far from broke. I don't know, but whatever money he has or doesn't have, he wasn't spending it on her, according to Courtney. She wanted more financial support from him, but he didn't want to give her financial support because he felt like she wasn't acting like a wife and wasn't giving him enough of her attention. Okay, fine. So Will goes back to California. Courtney, we see her working as a car mechanic. The update is Will is dating and Courtney has a new boyfriend. And hopefully he has a lot of money to spend on her because um if you ain't got no money, it don't make no sense to Courtney. Let's move on finally to Bianca and Daniel. They were not featured in tonight's episode, but we got a snippet of their update. Everybody knows Bianca is in a new relationship and she's expecting a baby girl. Daniel was released from jail after doing his 90-day stint. He lost his job and he lost the apartment as well. I'm thinking that when Bianca went back to Florida, she left him the apartment and he couldn't pay for it. So he lost the apartment and he is now staying in a sober living facility. I think we do wish Daniel well because we've heard too many stories about people who've been on Love After Lockup and they don't make it. They don't make it. So we do have to wish him well and pray that he gets the help that he needs to go clean. I think I'm done. I talked about everybody that I needed to talk about. The sister wives, Jaquan and Brooke, Will and Courtney, Zaria and Troy, Justine and Michael, Letitia and Keith, Bianca and Daniel. I sure did. And that is a wrap on this season. I think it's season 6 of Life After Lockup. Season 6. Let me make sure, y'all, because I got to get my facts right. Season 6, we are done. It is over. I want to thank y'all so much for joining me for all of my Life After Lockup reviews. I thank you for spending time with me. I thank you for watching, whether you watched 30 seconds of it or you watched all of it. I do appreciate it because you could be doing anything else, be anywhere else. But for whatever reason, you chose to be with me. And I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for every comment, for every like, for every dislike, however way y'all chose to engage with my videos. I do appreciate it. And we will meet up again, same time, same place, for whatever After Lockup franchise comes up next. Thank you so much. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later.